We've all been there where we've watched or consumed a piece of media and then gone, I was wrong about this. It could be anything from thinking something was good and then rewatching it to thinking it was bad. It could be anything from watching it and thinking it's, the opposite, where it's bad but ends up being good. It could be that you thought it had really cool and great and in-depth character writing, and then you rewatched it and you realized it was really bland. And a lot of the time when it comes to things like these, it's because we mature over time. But sometimes it's not. This actually happened quite recently for me, where I watched a show and I thought, it's good, but not great. It was a fun watch, but I wanted more. I needed more time to understand the characters and also really get to enjoy the show. I see the potential of the show, but I needed more. And one show that was like that for me is the topic of today's video, which is Wistoria, Wand and Sword. Now you might be asking, why exactly is it that you were wrong about the show, and what is it that led to you changing your mind? When the first season of Wistoria aired back in 2024, I heard a lot of people talking about how it was really good. It had good animation, interesting world building, and great characters. And so I decided to check it out, although I did check it out a little bit later because I was in the middle of moving at the time. So a little after it aired, I ended up binging the entire first 12 episode season, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. However, I just felt like I wanted something more, something deeper. I wanted something that could make me sit through it and think, Jesus, that was good, I want more. Had its moments where I felt like, hey, this is actually really good so far. It also had moments where it just felt like it was not a properly developed show, and now I understand why. So let's get more into it. What is Wistoria about? Well, as the name suggests, Wistoria is a show about wands and swords, more specifically in the sense of people. In a world filled with magic, there are a lot of mages around, and the mages are by far the most powerful people in this world. It's a fantasy world where there's something called the Tower. Hey, editing Gabe here. In the process of editing this, I kinda just noticed that my dumbass somehow mixed up the tower and the dungeon. Pretty different things, so let me explain. Whenever I say tower in this video after this little segment, I mean the dungeon. So I, within this segment, won't explain to you what the dungeon is, because I'm about to explain it, but I'm about to explain as the tower. What the tower actually is a tower where mages can enter to essentially become stronger mages. And the mages that reside at the top of the tower are the strongest mages alive. That is pretty much it when it comes to the tower. There's more to it than that, but that's kind of entering spoiler territory, so I'm just gonna leave that aside for anyone who wants to start watching the anime or read the manga, because I started reading the manga recently. In this video, I call the dungeon the tower. I don't know how I got it mixed up. Somehow I did. Normally I script my videos. This is a video that I did not script. And so looking back at it, I should have double checked that part before recording, but that's on me. I had bullet points for pretty much everything else I talk about. I just never had a bullet point for the dungeon and what the dungeon is compared to, the tower, which is a bit on me. My bad, so just keep that in mind. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. The tower has different levels where different monsters will appear where they can fight them. The reason why people go into this tower to hunt monsters is because that way they can earn credits towards becoming a higher ranked mage. And during one such adventure throughout the tower to essentially hunt monsters for these extra credits, we see someone by the name of Will Surford fight monsters. However, there's just one thing that's a bit odd about it. You see, the tower is for mages to enter to fight monsters, and obviously that's why I mentioned that it's for mages to earn credits to become a higher ranked mage. So why is there a boy who can't use magic and who uses a sword running around killing monsters in the tower? You see, although Will Surford is not a mage, or well, rather say does not have the ability to use magic, you see he's actually enrolled in an academy for mages, and so he's around this tower to essentially earn extra credits that he cannot get due to not being able to do basic spellcasting. But you see, due to his inability when it comes to spellcasting, he's bullied and is just straight up an outcast, even though he works harder than most, if not everyone, when it comes to becoming the strongest mage. And the reason why is he has the goal to one day become something called a Magiavander. You see, the Magiavander are the most powerful mages in this world. And so, of course, because of that, everyone thinks it's possible for Will to become a Magiavander. And if anything, a stupid dream to have for someone who can't use magic. But Will doesn't care about that, and he anyways works really hard to reach his goal. And that is essentially the base of the story. I'm not gonna go too much more into it because I like keeping my videos spoiler free, at least as spoiler free as possible, because I talk about things that I like, and the reason to why I talk about them is so that other people might understand why I like them and why I think other people should give it a shot and enjoy it too. And so it will be kind of counterproductive for me to talk about why I enjoy something as much as I do and then just spoil the entire thing for people who haven't seen it. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend to watch it, and because of that, I want to talk about it. So if you came here expecting the most in-depth character analysis, I'm not going to do that because I want other people to be able to enjoy the show, and that would actually spoil a lot of character arcs, etc., because I'd have to, talk about the characters, why they are the way they are, and why their character arcs go in the way they go. Let's continue a little bit. You see, the first season of Wistoria had actually a pretty solid foundation. The world and the world building was interesting, the characters were really well written, and there was actually a surprising amount of really good characters. To start off with Scion, a really hot-headed bully. We have Wignall, an elf who has his own self-doubts and reasons to why he does not believe that he can reach his own goals. And lastly, we have someone like Julius, who believes himself to be better and more valuable than everyone else purely because he's a talented mage who is very powerful. But there's a lot more to things than just being powerful or being strong. Obviously, personality and such matters quite a lot. Overall, the character writing is really good, and we see multiple character arcs are actually fairly interesting. And the way that the characters are developed and end up actually evolving as individual people make them feel really human. Overall, the story is really solid in season 1. So now you might ask, but then Gabe, why were you wrong about the show? Right now you're talking about it saying that it's really good. So what's the issue? Well, to be frank, the issue is that it shouldn't have been a 12-episode season. You see, most writers that have created great media have one thing in common when they talk about how to create media, and that is that you should have a plan for a beginning, a middle, and an end. Because all stories should have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Otherwise, they're just not going to be entertaining and there's not going to be a goal for the characters to work on. It's also going to be harder to write character arcs because you don't know when they're going to start or when they're going to end because you have no plan. One piece of media that actually did exactly this really well is Gravity Falls by Alex Hirsch. So now you might ask, okay, well, what exactly is the issue with this when it comes to Wistoria? And that is that it just feels like not much really happened throughout the first season. It really just feels like the start of a show, but when it finally starts getting somewhere where the show might become a little bit more interesting, the season just ends. And that is the biggest issue. When the main story of the series you're writing ends before the main story actually manages to start kicking in, you have a bit of an issue on your hand because people want the main story, not the character introduction. So when your entire first season is mostly just character introduction and world building, you sit there going, where is the story? And that is the biggest issue of this. You see, recently I've had pretty strong opinions about 12-episode anime, and this anime is one of those anime. I am considering making an entire video about this, so I'll keep it brief, but essentially a lot of anime that have 12 episodes feel like they're just planned to be thrown out for the sake of seeing interest. Because it's cheaper to make a 12-episode anime than a 24-episode anime, and it's easier to scope out the interest in those anime than with a 24-episode anime, as well as you can pump it out earlier than with a 24-episode anime because you need less source material for a 12-episode anime. Essentially, what you can do is you can pump out a 12-episode anime, release it, see what people are saying about it. If people really enjoy it, well, great, you can give it a season 2. If people don't enjoy it, well, cool, it just ends there. But it becomes an issue when you do this for the sake of just saving money and runtime, when you could have just created a better piece of media by giving it more time to, build the story. And this is incredibly noticeable with Wistoria, as when you read the manga or when you watch the next 4 episodes that are in season 2 that were released just recently, as season 2 is airing right now this season, you notice something pretty noticeable. You see, in episode 4 of the second season, and I believe chapter 24, I'll put a notice if that's incorrect on the screen, you are told something very important to the show, which is that this is when the series actually starts. Everything else is a prologue. It's an introduction to the world and the characters, but it's not where the series actually starts. It's not where the story starts to properly kick in. It's at episode 4 of the second season. You see, when you're covering out season 1, you expect it to at least cover the entire prologue of the show, right? Especially because normally a prologue is there to introduce you to the show. When you see a prologue in a book, it's a way to introduce you to the book and its characters without making it too long. Sure, it's a pretty long prologue, but it's understandably long because the character development and world building is actually fantastic. Also, it gives us a way to gauge the power system of the series, which is also pretty impressive. So it makes sense for it to take a bit of extra time to really help us understand these characters and get introduced to the characters as well as the world. That is also when we get to the discussion of what was the plan for season 1. Well, honestly, I don't know. I get that they wanted to cover essentially an arc or a piece of the show to gauge interest. In all honesty, season 1 was probably released to gauge interest, and that's completely understandable. But when you have a show where you don't finish the prologue in the first season, it really becomes a show where people will look at it and go, well, that was fine, I guess, but we didn't really get anywhere, because it is noticeable that you're not getting anywhere. The series was starting to finally get interesting at the end of the first season, which is a shame because it was good the entire time, but it wasn't getting interested. You could tell that the story in itself hadn't really properly gotten started yet. And so when the season finally ended and we started getting introduced to the proper villains of the show, you just kind of sat there going, wait, what do you mean? We just got introduced to the main villain of the show. We just started getting somewhere. What do you mean the season ends there? And understandably so, it just because of that didn't get the greatest rating. Here's the thing, Wistoria has a 7.86 rating, which is not bad. Well, on Mal, that is, by the way. But in all honesty, if we had the episodes that we've seen in season 2 now, in the first season, I actually think it would have been a solid 8. And it really is a shame because it would have been so nice to see what we got to see in season 2 in season 1. Well, at least season 2 so far, that is. When I saw that Wistoria was getting a season 2, I was kinda skeptical on whether I wanted to watch it or not, but I decided to watch it because I did enjoy season 1, I thought it was really good, I just didn't think it was great, and that is something that was really a shame. But now that I've watched it, I can happily tell you that Wistoria is actually really good. Especially the second season so far, and I'm very excited to see where it goes from there, and I might even pick up the actual light novels because I've been reading more light novels recently and I really enjoy it. It's a nice pastime for me. Something I also really want to talk about is that the soundtrack and the music in the show is just absolutely amazing. The first season soundtrack was really good, but I think the second season soundtrack so far has been even better, and I'm really impressed by that. Yuki Hayashi, the composer for the soundtrack, has actually done an absolutely amazing job so far. But it also makes sense because they've done a great job on other soundtracks such as My Hero Academia and Haikyuu. And on top of that, the openings and endings so far are pretty good as well. Fire and Fear, which is the first opening by Penguin Research, is great, and the ending theme, Frozen by True, is also really good, and I really like True as well, because they made other songs that I really like. For anyone watching this who is curious to what other songs True has made, they've an example made Sincerely, which is the opening for Violet Evergarden, which is one of my favorite anime of all time. And the second ending, Reach for the Light by Shiyu, is also really good. And the opening by Ashday Hero is not necessarily my type of thing, but it's a good opening. It's just not my cup of tea, which is a shame because I actually really like Ashday Hero in general. At the end of the day, I really wish that the episodes we've at least seen so far in Wistoria was in season 1, because it would have made it so much better of a show. It would have made it so that when you finished the show, you really wanted more, whilst when I finished Wistoria season 1, I thought, that was a good watch. Anyways, what else can I watch? Well, season 2 so far, specifically episode 4 of season 2, made me go, oh my god, that was peak. And I'm very happy I ended up actually watching season 2, even though I considered not doing it. With all of that said, what are your opinions on Wistoria so far? Do you enjoy it? Do you not enjoy it? And if so, why? I think Wistoria has done a great job at things, especially when it comes to things like character writing and even more. I also think a lot of the foreshadowing and a lot of the hidden details in the show are really impressive. With all of that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did and you want to enjoy more content like this, hit the subscribe button. I wish you all a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you all later. Bye bye.